In my last video, I discussed some of the worst types of car people and their headache-inducing behaviors. And in this video, I'll be a little bit more positive and talk about the car people that get a little bit too much hate. The first niche of car people that I would say maybe even gets the most hate is stance people. And while a lot of stance cars look like Hot Wheels that just got stepped on, I would say many of them are at least somewhat tastefully done. And again, many are associated with tastelessness, and while there are many interesting characters and attention-seeking femboys that do have stance cars, I think the majority of stance people are normal, or relatively normal at least, and appreciate car culture and just decide to express themselves through stance cars, which aren't quite as functional as a track car, and they're not nearly as reliable as a car that doesn't have air suspension, massive wheels, or hella flush fitment. And I think that as far as car subcultures go, stance cars most definitely have their toxic element, but I think the majority of stance car owners are pretty cool and integrate well within the greater umbrella of car culture. And I think another group of car people, or really rather cars, that gets way, way too much hate would be rotary people and rotary cars. And I think that while there are lots of jokes about them leaking oil and overheating and being very unreliable, and while rotary people kind of clap back and make fun of the people that choose to LS swap or K swap their RX-7, or really just RX-7, I think that
shut the fuck up, Trump. I'm going to clap your ass in
friendly banter
Fortnite.
almost, at least in most cases, is entertaining. And while many rotaries can be more problematic than Kanye West on a podcast in the last year, I think that there are at least a few people that have figured out the secret sauce of sorts and how to get a rotary to run properly. And I think that that's maybe why they're overhated. And if that knowledge is spread a little more, they could be more universally accepted. And the last real heavy hitter is kind of similar to stance cars in the fact that many of them are more for looks rather than performance. And it's a really good way to get people to make fun of you. And I would say that that group of cars is donks. And I think that I used to associate donks almost in the same category as the squatted trucks that I talked about in the last video. And I would say that I always thought that most people that own donks were really just looking for attention, but now I kind of see it as more of a form of expression, just like stance cars. And I think that there are most definitely some people that own donks or cars in that kind of big wheel category for the wrong sort of reasons and are really just trying to get attention or clout from it. But I think most of them are good-hearted in nature. And also, donk drag racing, which is something I really just found out about, is pretty cool. And being able to see a massive old Chevy doing burnouts and running times that can rival almost any beat-up Mustang with weld beadlocks and a turbo LS is pretty neat. And I think that I would say that's kind of the last group that maybe gets too much hate. And I'm sure I'm forgetting other car niches or subgenres, and if you have one that you maybe think is overhated or misunderstood, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this really stupid video.